Well, here we are again. Today we are at the mayor, and you see, I'm calling you the mayor already.
Freudian slip, no, Ben, no, Ben. City Council President.
Fake news. Council President Mike Khader. You know, thank you, Mike, for inviting us, and always been ready to talk, to speak with us.
You know, my only regret was that we couldn't do this sooner. As you know, Ben, I'm in 5 places at the same time, but, you know, it's about giving you and your audience the opportunity to, hear my thoughts and to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, sometimes, we disagree with this, but at the end of the day, you're always willing to speak with us about issues.
You have to. Yeah.
Thank you. But today, the subject why we're here is budget 2019-2020. Mike, last time when you were running, okay, you and the council people, taxes going up, it's out of the question. Talk about people on a steady income, the elderly in the city of Yonkers. We cannot raise taxes. That's what they all pledged and they were all talking about. At the end of the day, taxes were raised. How does it look now?
Well, you're referring to last year's,
Yes.
budget. I'm not going to talk for the entire city council, but I know the council, particularly the new members, myself and 3 others, we inherited that problem, and coming in, facing layoffs, for our police, firefighter, teachers. It was a tough budget season, and no one wants to have layoffs. These are essential services. Going forward, we're facing right now, another tax increase in the proposed budget. Ben, I remember we've been talking about 2 weeks. What I purposely wanted to do was to have all the departments come in, give their presentation, and ask the questions that I needed to ask. And many times my questions ruffled feathers. I even extended my time or meetings went over because I felt that the hard questions needed to be asked, and I did a lot of preparation before every departmental meeting. Raising taxes is just not sustainable. And I generally feel, that's the blanket statement right now. But now that we're done with all the department, I'm going to talk with my colleagues, we'll talk with the administration, and we're going to see what the options are.
But how does it look like? Does it look like taxes will be raised or not?
Well, that's what's being proposed. I mean, right now, I know there's some council members that want a 0%. There's some council members are fine with 3%. It's all about trying to build some consensus.
Well, what have we done differently this time around from the last time around?
When you say what we have differently,
well, last time around we increased the taxes because we were on a hole. Albany gave us a one-shot deal. This time around, maybe there is no tax increase. So did we do anything differently than before that is going to put us in a very solid position financially?
Well, no. I think what you're asking, with the Albany did come in last year. They came in, particularly with the Assembly 8.8. This year, Albany came in and they actually increased some money. But again, you used the term one shots, and this is not the way to function. As a city or as the Board of Education, and relying on a lot of these one-shots. Ben, I want to answer your questions. Many times, a lot of people say, Mike, where do you get your ideas? Where do you get the purpose of your questions and looking long-term? Right now, as ironic, we're talking about the 1920, we're talking about the 1920 budget, which is that binder right there on that table. I'm also looking at the next 3-4 years down the road. So it's a combination of trying to get past this issue, but also planning for 2, 3, 4 years down the road. We have to take corrective action in the way we function.
Okay.
One shots are great, but it's a problem when we rely on it. You would want to say anything we get on top is great, but it's just we're already shorthanded. And so, for example, we got a one-shot earlier this month through the great work of our state delegation and the PTA and the superintendent, the administration, the council. We were on a united front. We did get the money down, but here's the problem: next year, a lot of that money is not guaranteed to come in, and that's the systemic problem. Our commissioner, when they talk about a structural imbalance, there is a structural imbalance, and that structural imbalance has to be fixed at the state legislative level. And I've had candid conversations with the state delegation, and we have to have that unified effort. So while that's happening, we got to maintain our own house at the local level. What I personally try to do is, the state controller gives some recommendations. We try to adapt to those regulations. We try to implement legislative ideas, legislative solutions, legislative local laws and ordinances, trying to show good faith. And that, okay, Albany, you criticize us and how we're functioning, but we're trying to take some corrective action. Now, do your part.
Okay. Now, let me just go into a specific question posed
Sure.
by one of our members.
Sure.
That happens to be the president of the PBA, Mr. Kit Olson.
Sure.
Kit said that before you were elected as a council president, that you made a promise, but I'm sure that you cannot guarantee on your promise, you can go on best effort, but that you promised that the PBA would get more money, or at least you would add or request more money for the police department that would allow them to hire more police officers.
Yeah.
I
believe what you're referring to, and again, I don't have, that was back in 2017, where there was a violent crime, and I called upon the city council, prior was going on there, to increase patrol. That was, during 2017 campaign. It looks like the campaign season never ends in the city of Yonkers, unfortunately. But Ben, that's a great question. Here's where we are. And since in 15 months where we've been in, the overtime in the police department, and I just said it last week, there's systemic overtime issues. The city council had to do transfer of funds to pay for the overtime. What I would like to see, and I say this in all departments, I don't necessarily think there's ever any savings. What I would like to see is repositioning of funds. And this is something that I told the commissioner just last week. And let's take some of that overtime money, put caps, and let's try to put that in a salary line, create some positions. Just, some of these salaries that are, and let me just start off, our first responders, they do phenomenal work. They do phenomenal work. However, just some of these salaries, Ben, are not sustainable. So right now, the numbers are, and again, I'm rounding up, I think it was 17 million. Some of that is a little over 2 million is reimbursable money, what you get from what you see, the traffic details. I generally think that overtime is a management issue. It's not a labor issue. So if you're doing overtime, Ben, that means you're not with your wife, you're not with your girlfriend, you're not with your kids. You're out there working. And if people are given that opportunity, they're going to take it.
Well, Mike, I don't want to.
And so to get to the point, there has to be caps in place, and where you limit overtime, and that money in the overtime, should go into creating more positions. Right now, what's going on is we're filling in, like when officers retire after their years of service. There's a class coming in, I think very shortly, and then there's another class coming down, I think in 6 or 7 months. So the way we're functioning, it's economically impossible to add more cops when we're $18 million in overtime.
Okay, Mike, so before I forget,
Sure.
I don't know if overtime is always a management issue. Yonkers already has less police officers, at least that's what we, the citizens of Yonkers, feel, than we need. And if we have less than what we need, and then we add, sick leave, holidays, vacation, that is going to put us, or put the police department in a position that they need people to cover those hours, to cover that overtime. How are we going to run if we don't?
There's a great chart, and I don't have it on hand. I know it was taken, but it was, and I made reference to it. You can never eliminate overtime. And matter of fact, you're never going to hear me talk about eliminating overtime. What you're going to hear me talk about is controlling overtime. You try to put a control. I call something good overtime and bad overtime.
Are you implying that overtime is out of control, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. Some of these salaries, they're just not sustainable.
Well, salaries and overtime are two different things.
Well, the salaries are the overtime is part of the
You
salaries.
talk about when you pay overtime hours. That's what you're talking about.
Correct. So, but, but that's all, that's just one of the issues, of the budget. We could talk for hours about.
We can,
yeah.
but you didn't answer my question. On this budget, did you put money in or request for the police department?
The process doesn't work that way.
How does it work?
Okay, it's the mayor proposes the budget to us, and we review his proposition, his proposal. It's the same thing with the Board of Education. The city council, as the legislature, the legislative body of the city, doesn't create a budget. We review it, and that's why we have these hearings. This is why I said it many times. This budget is probably one of the few times where we get all the stakeholders at the table with finance, with commissioner. We request the documents. We don't prepare the budget. We review the budget and we vote on the budget. Now, once the hearings are done, where we speak to the entire city and Board of Ed side, we talk amongst ourselves.
So the mayor proposed the budget.
Correct.
You reviewed the budget.
Correct.
Is there anything there that you would do differently? If you were to propose that budget, would you have proposed anything different than what the mayor proposed?
Well, yeah, I would, I would like to see a lot of different things. We're talking about, and I talked to my colleagues about that. I don't want to see a high tax increase. I don't want to use our entire fund balance. I would like to see, an increase in patrol. There's a lot of things that I would like. We call that, the wish list.
How would, if you were to face, the seniors, the homeowners that are on fixed income, that cannot afford another tax increase, Mike, and based on your promises, not just yours, the entire council, that no taxes, if they were facing you and asking you, you promised this, we cannot afford it, we cannot pay another cent in dollars, what would you tell them?
I agree with you.
Yeah, but
I agree with you, and that's one reason why I'm just not there yet. I'm gonna, we're looking around it. We're trying to see that raising. Ben, before I continue, one of the most important functions of the city council is to vote on the budget, not prepare the budget, but to vote on the budget. And number two is zone changes. Right now, we're talking about the budget. Those are our two fundamental obligations, not flag raising, not going to ceremonial events. We're ombudsman for the residents for the entire city of Yonkers, particularly my office. I'm a citywide office, and it's just not sustainable. So not just the senior, the veteran, the single parent, the person that lives in Northeast Yonkers or Southwest Yonkers. The answer is the same. I agree with you. It's not sustainable.
But what are we going to do different so it can become sustainable? If we keep going this way, because it's the same song every year, Mike. Before you were elected, now that you are elected. So if it was up to you, what changes would you do in Yonkers?
You know what? I can't answer that in 5 minutes. But you know what? I think that you got to have the political will and the resolve to get it done. I do have some ideas, and that's where I talk to my colleagues on the council. We call that caucusing, and we exchange.
Now, I know that today we had a very short time because you have other commitments. So I'm going to ask you. I have a wish list, Mike.
We all okay? All right.
Okay, I have. Okay, and my wish list is buy a nice Ferrari, and I already picked the color and everything. What is yours?
The wish list that I have, I'm just thankful for where I am right now. Public service is a privilege. I don't, the people of Yonkers voted me into office. I recognize what I said during the campaign. I recognize what's doable, what's not doable. I also recognize there's always political baits and traps, and sometimes you have to engage. Sometimes you don't engage. The wish list that I say is there's a lot of people that are quick to complain, and their complaints are legitimate. They're frustrated, they're angry, they feel disenfranchised from their city government. Let's engage, come to the table with a solution. Let's talk about it. Don't just throw or complain. Let's dialogue. And I feel that I would like to see more dialogue with city governance and residents.
Mike, you becoming a true politician. You know,
I don't know if that's a compliment or...
Neither do I, okay? I ask you one question, you give me another answer for another question that I didn't even think about it. What is your wish list, Mike? Things they would hope. Would it be mayor next time around? Or you have something else in mind? Give me a specific wish list. Where would you like to see Mike Khader 10 years from now or 6 years from now?
You know, I understand your question. Thank you, Ben. You know, and I'm going to, you know, public service, again, it's a privilege. You know, serving the residents of Yonkers, you know, at a mayoral level, at a county level, at the congressional level, will be, will be a privilege. I would like to have that opportunity when the time is right. I think, you know, my skill set, my experience with the federal government, you know, it's something that I would like to explore. But right now we're focusing as the city council president.
Give me a straight up answer. Would it be Senate? Will it be Congress? Will it be, tell me, give me a specific answer. What
Ben,
would you like?
You know what, Ben, I know you're asking for a specific answer, but there's so many variables. But here's what I'm comfortable saying. When the time is right and there's a vacancy at the congressional level, I would like to have my name part of that dialogue. But it's not, again, it's not for me. It's for the people to decide.
I understand, but the decision has to be yours. That first step has to be yours, and then the people will support you, elect you, or don't elect you.
Agreed.
So you heard it, okay? Right here on Yonkers Voice, the council president, Mike Khader, has told us his goal is wish list. Maybe I have Congressman Mike Khader right here a few years from now.
We'll see what time holds in our, you know, holds in a few years.
When you were elected council president, I had the first interview with you. If you are elected congressman, can I have that first interview with you?
Absolutely, Ben. You always have. You know, it's unfortunate. You know, we haven't spoken in the last few months, but you always have. You know, we'll schedule it, and we'll always make you a priority. How's that?
The promise has been made.
Promise has been made, right?
Thank you, Mike, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And
thank you again for all, all your listeners. You know, all the people that follow you, and reach out to us 377-6060. Council President at YonkersNY.gov. Follow us on social media. You know, Ben, in closing, I may not get every decision right, but here's something that I want your, 3 things that I try to do 7 days a week. Try to be honest, follow the law, and keep the peace.
Okay, in closing, if it matters to you,
it matters to Mike. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you.
Take care, Ben.